Oh, here we go. Survivor fans, welcome back to our slugfest. We just watched episode 7. It was called $1 Million Decision. And Matt, what did you think of what happened there at the end with poor Julie?
Well, let's look at the positives first. It holds over this sort of cold war between Josh and Jeremy. So, like, that sort of left it at a good cliffhanger, and we get those interesting characters for another week. But yeah, I'm really not a fan of people quitting the show, particularly post merge, where
Mhm.
it can have a big impact on people's games and numbers and things. And I don't even know why she quit, to be honest. Like it was such a mess.
Right. I think there were two reasons. So I'm not sure which one is actually the correct one. One of the reasons is that she missed John Rocker. She had never been apart from him this long. Oh, hold on, let me cry. I'm just going to cry for a second. The second reason was that it was just really hard on her. She didn't have a lot of, you know, weight mass. She was a very skinny person. So not eating probably affected her more than some of the other people. There was that big storm just a couple of nights before that in the previous episode where she was thinking of quitting then. So that was a little foreshadowing. But I mean, what do you think of those two reasons? The missing John Rocker part and then the elements part.
Well, there've been much tougher seasons. Like when Purple Naonka and Kelly quit, or no, Purple Kelly and Naonka quit. It was they'd just had like a week of storms and things. Like that was rough. As bad as that was, and that was really bad.
Was that also Nicaragua?
Yeah, that was Nicaragua. Yeah. So as bad as that was, it was really bad. Like she'd had one day of rain, and they just had the merge feast, and they just had a reward the episode before, and Jeff had just gone and given them a whole massive new bag of rice because she'd eaten so much rice before then. Like the elements didn't seem that bad. Like I and then the John Rocket, like when everyone goes on Survivor, they're missing their, Natalie and Nadia. They haven't been separated for more than a week since birth,
Right.
and like Natalie seems to be going really well without Nadia and adjusting and stuff. So I don't know, just some boyfriend. Like they're not even married. Like how can you not like go on without being separated from John Rocker? And she had a confessional when John Rocker got voted off the next episode, going, "Oh, that's a relief. That's good. I don't need to worry about him now. I can just focus on my own game. I sort of thought this could be an issue." So
Yeah, and
yeah.
didn't she want to prove that she could do things on her own without him? I think that was one of her big storylines this season after he got voted out was that, I'm a strong woman, I could do it without him. And then it just gets too much to her. I think the ultimate catalyst was when the merge happened and you had these four couples that were kind of hanging out. And that's when she realized, oh, I do miss John. But still not a good enough reason to quit Survivor, Julie. You weren't even on the chopping block this week. Yeah, there was the whole trail mix thing, but she didn't steal the trail mix from how I saw it. She she kept it. It was her trail mix. She just saved it for later. Isn't that right? Am I missing something? Why
I
was this?
think that's what it seemed to be. Yeah, it seemed like people were a bit harsh on her on the trail mix. Maybe she didn't do a very good job of explaining what she had done. Like maybe she didn't like. So maybe like I think if that was me, I might we're having all our trail mix or whatever, and I might go to the tribe. Oh, I'm not that like I can I save mine for later, guys. I'm gonna put some in my bag for later because I'm not hungry now. I want to save mine. And then it was, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Like I guess so. And then like they can't get mad later. So I think that's maybe where she dropped the ball. But that's
Right,
nitpicking. I think people, and I guess when you're so hungry and tired on Survivor, you might overreact to things. But I think they definitely overreacted to that, and I
yeah,
think came close to bully. They bullied her, to be honest, which is,
especially Alec.
yeah, Alec. That guy's a big bully though, because he's
Mhm.
like been mean to our girl Baylor, and
Our
like
girl.
I've seen a promo
Yeah,
for next week that looks like he's going to be even more mean to Baylor next week. So yeah, this Alec guy, this is bad news.
I liked him at first, and then all of a sudden, like I turned on him, America turned on him. Something's wrong with this kid. Everyone thought kind of that his brother Drew was the polarizing character, but I think Drew was just kind of the annoying jock type character we get on the show all the time. There's something wrong with Alex, kind of like a Brandon Hans type. Something wrong with him.
I want to go as far as Brandon Hantz, who was like throwing rice into the fire and things. But like, I'm sort of agreeing. I think Drew has probably been a big influence on Alex. Like, I think like Alec living in Drew's shadow, Alec, who's very delusional and self-important and things. Like, that's definitely rubbed off on Alec. And yeah, they're an interesting couple. Those two brothers.
If Julie had lasted, she definitely would have made the merge. I mean, there was no question. She wasn't going home this week.
No,
Um,
she was safe this week.
yeah, she wasn't going to win though. I think that maybe had a part to do with her quitting. She knew she wasn't going to win. There were people playing better than her. So why stick it out all these weeks if you're not even going to win?
$100,000.
For second place.
Second place, $100,000 is why you stick it out.
And what? Okay, so last season they went back to a two-person finale, which is always my favorite. This season, I think they could do the same thing because there's 11 people left. That means, a nine-person jury and a final two. Am I doing the math right? Do we have a final two this year?
Probably. Like now, this you can really compare this to the season Tocantins, where right after the merge, I think it was Joe, I think was his name, got medevaced, which they weren't expecting, and it meant they had to wait another week before voting out Brandon. But that was the last season that they had a final two before last season. And I think it's because Joe got medevaced at the merge that they went to the final two, which I think ended up being pretty good for the show. Like Stephen and JT were a pretty compelling final two and a really good story for the show. And last year was fantastic, the final two, where you had Wu have to make that $1 million decision.
It's so much more dramatic when one person chooses one person to bring with them.
Yeah, I think there are some seasons where a final three has worked better, but I think most seasons a final two would. So I hope they go back to final two. Although they've had plenty of juries that have, like the Philippines season, it looked like they were setting that up for a final two because of you looked at the numbers on the jury. Are they going to have 8 people voting for 3 people? That seems quite small a number of votes for the number of people, but
right.
I think Survivor would like to have a tie.
Yeah, have they ever announced what would happen if there's a tie? Did they give away $2 million? They've never announced that, right?
No, they've never said. So I think they want to make Survivor history.
Right.
And they've said they've got something in mind. They've said they've got something to deal with it.
What if they have the two?
It'll just be a draw.
What if they have the two winners build a fire, and whoever builds the fire first wins $1 million?
At the live reunion. I've always assumed that if they do get a tie, they'll deal with it on the night. Like, they won't wait the 6 months. Like, because they'll know the votes. There'll be some producer that knows if there's a tie in the night. And I just can't imagine them deciding the winner of Survivor 6 months after everyone's flowing back in and everyone's seen the show and everyone's in their suits and, cool shirts and stuff. But anyway, so I think we could get a final two again. I think last year the final two went really well. I know Jeff maybe indicated at the end of last season they weren't going to do a final two again, but that was before they filmed it. And he was also saying that have Redemption Island at the same time, and so they've changed a few things. So yeah, I reckon final two could be good. I hope they've got a final two.
Yeah, I think it's always so much more dramatic when it's down to the final three, and one of those three wins immunity. They get to choose who sits next to them and who goes home. That's always so much more dramatic than when you have a final four and one of those four wins immunity.
You've had a lot better final two moments than and I think actually we've had some really great seasons of Survivor in the Philippines, in the First Blood versus Water, in Caramoan and things. I think they were all good, but all those finals seemed a little bit weak. Like they didn't have that water cooler moment. You sort of knew going in who was going to win the final, and it was a great season, but the final episode wasn't that good. Last season, we had a final episode that was just as good as any other episode. I think a big reason is because of that big Wu decision. Although I guess if he'd picked Cass, it would have been a bit disappointing.
Yeah, don't talk about Cass.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the predictions for next week.
Yes.
According to Gold Derby, the person voted out is going to be Jeremy, which I could see happening.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what it was set up. Sort of like we didn't quite know where John and Jacqueline were going to go, the edit definitely led us to believe it was probably Jeremy that was going home last week if Julie didn't quit.
Right. That's what Julie said. I got to talk to her after she quit, and I said, which way was it going to go? Was it going to be the four couples sticking together, or was it going to be your little alliance of seven? And she actually said from her perspective, she thought Jeremy was going home.
Mm-hmm.
No, she said Josh. I'm sorry. She said Josh was going home.
She said Josh. Okay,
Yeah,
so she thought John and Jacqueline were going to stay with them.
Yes, so she thought her alliance of seven was going to vote out Josh. Sorry, I got that wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then I asked her, who do you want to go home next? And she said Baylor. She wants Baylor to go home.
Yeah, this episode is when I've gotten really worried about Baylor winning our winner's pick. I don't think she's going next week. I think she's in it for a bit longer. But it does not seem like Baylor's got a whole lot of respect from people on the jury. And it does seem like she was following her mum's lead, and she was caught in the middle between her mum and Josh. I'm still going to keep her in my winner's prediction, because you get more points and stuff, and I'm not just off one bad episode going to change it. But she's going to need to make some moves to win this game. Now, like, she could get to the end still, but to actually win it, she's going to need to do some things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to waver on my Baylor prediction too, but
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I stuck it out this long. If I change now, my all those points that I've been kind of banking up, if she wins, will go back to 0 again. So I'm just gonna stick it out and see what happens. But whoever doesn't go, let's pretend Josh goes home, which we have no inside knowledge or anything.
Yeah.
If Josh goes home, that means this is really only a season where Baylor or Jeremy could win, right? Who else could win? You think Missy? I think Natalie too.
Natalie? There's some contenders there. And if you've got a final two, it means there's more people that can win. Because then just anyone needs to take the least popular person to the end and they can win.
Yeah. So I'm still rooting for Baylor though.
Yeah. Baylor's got to just exceed. Everyone thinks Baylor sucks at the moment. I think like people aren't liking her. And have you seen the promo for next week?
Remind me.
It's Alec, and this is not the next time on Survivor, but the ad that's been on TV. It's pretty much who is it? Alec and Keith getting really stuck into Baylor for being lazy. Yeah, and then Jacqueline getting sick of the guys picking on the girls.
Right. Well, you know, Keith kind of disowned Missy and Baylor for voting his way during the episode before last one, where they were trying to flesh out an idol. They thought maybe Dale had an idol. So Missy and Baylor both voted for Keith, and when Keith found out, he just kind of went crazy.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Like, he should have been upset. That showed him that he was expendable according to them.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Keith had a fair reaction. I think Keith would be an idiot if he trusted them from now on. I think he's gone with the right group now. Yeah, but no, I think like Jacqueline and John, it looks like, according to this promo, that next week they might have a disagreement over who to vote for.
Ooh, drama.
So maybe they'll go against it. But we might not see a couple vote each other out this season, but we could see next week a couple vote in different alliances.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think sometimes these trailers are really manipulative. Yeah. Sometimes they're spot on. Like the episode where John Rocker went home, the trailer basically said John Rocker's in trouble, and then it showed him fighting. So
and
sometimes
the episode,
they're right.
Yeah, and the episode where Sierra voted out her mum, like, will Sierra vote out her mum? Like, sometimes they get just so excited that they've got something good. They just want to make sure people know there's going to be something good in the episode. And sometimes they don't have something good, so they try to make it seem like they do. So it's really hard to tell, actually.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts. Will you miss Julie?
What, sorry?
Will you miss Julie on the show?
No, and this is why I should be more outraged at this quit, because it was really weak, pretty much for no reason. You and me, Marcus, would love to play Survivor. And it's always sad to see someone who gets on there and can't, like, who just quits, throws away that chance. Um, but she was one of the more boring characters on the show, to be honest. It's kept a lot of the interesting ones still in it. That's
Mhm.
probably why Jeff didn't really berate her too much. It's like, oh well, we get rid of one of the boring characters now, rather than a Josh and Jeremy that are being
Yeah.
TV gold. So yeah, because I think actually, this season some people are saying is a bit weak, and it's definitely not as strong as the last handful. But so far, who knows what will happen? But there's a lot of cool characters. Like I think Josh is an interesting, good character. I think Jeremy's an interesting, good character. I think Missy and Baylor are interesting. I think Natalie's really. You got at least four. Keith's not a great player, but he's a good character. Like who's not just a stupid character like a Philip or a he's not playing well, but he's playing the game. He's got his head in it.
Mhm.
And I think you got a handful of pretty interesting characters that are playing the game in different ways with different strategies and stuff. I think this is a pretty compelling season so far.
I think one of my favorite things from the last episode, when you mentioned Keith, I just remembered it. Keith didn't even remember his own son's birthday.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that tells you a lot about Keith right there.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus, for remembering my birthday when we did a Slugfest a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, if I was your father, I would always remember.
Oh, that's so nice. I trying to think of my father's ever forgotten my birthday. I've definitely forgotten my dad's.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Well,
awesome.
I'm pretty forgiving of people forgetting birthdays. I sometimes forget them.
Right, right. That's why I love the whole Facebook thing because it always tells you on Facebook whose birthday it is.
That is really good. That is really good.
All right, cool. So I think we've rambled long enough.
Yes.
So everyone should go make their predictions. Go Derby for Survivor. Who's going to win? Who's going to be voted off? All that fun
Oh,
stuff.
who do you think's getting voted off this week?
Oh, my personal pick. Let me go to that real fast. Who do you
At the moment, I'm going to change it. I think I'm going to change it to Alec. I think. I know you were arguing for Alec last week. I'm just thinking if
have?
there is a turn where they're just fed up with the guys, and that sort of is where the tide turns with this. Um, Alec might be your prime candidate. Well, then again, there's Reed. Reed's like I think Josh could win immunity, and then they've got to go target Reed. I think Josh and Jacqueline could swing back, like they were
Mhm.
maybe on the side of voting out Jeremy. They swing back this week. So I'm thinking Reed or Alec, and I'm going to go with Reed. I'm going to go. I think Reed.
Right.
I'm going to
My
stick with Reed.
number, my number one. I'm still going with Alec. 2 weeks in a row. Second
I think
place.
that's a good pick this week. I think it's a better pick this week than last week, Marcus.
Right. And then second place, I have Josh going home. Just I
Yeah.
have a feeling this alliance is going to stick together. This Missy Baylor alliance with John and Jacqueline, and they're going to pull in Jeremy and Natalie.
Yeah.
And who's the seventh in their little alliance?
Well, it was Julie.
Oh, it was Julie. It was Julie. So now it's six. So
Which actually losing Julie helps Jeremy in a sense that Josh was trying to create this fear around the singles all banding together.
mhm.
Now there's only two singles. There's now just Jeremy and Natalie. Looks a lot less threatening than a block of three.
Right, and what's interesting? If this alliance of seven, which is now six, you have the two couples, and then you do have Jeremy and Natalie, so they can have each other's back and be this impromptu couple. So really, it's an alliance of three couples that's going to take out the other people.
Yeah. It's interesting the couples versus single dynamic because the more couples you take out, the more singles you create, and the more
Mhm.
singles you take out, the bigger percentage of the couples are. So
Right,
you can go, let's target the couples, but then you're creating a larger pool of singles. So
right.
it's sort of like as a counterintuitive result from the strategy.
And poor Alec looks to be the one single that's kind of left alone because he,
Yeah, he's in with the couples really, and Baylor
yeah,
and Missy are in with the singles.
right.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Anyway.
So that is our predictions. What are your guys' predictions? Make yours now.
Yeah, smart money's clearly on Josh and Jeremy,
Yes.
since they're the two heads of the two snakes. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Okay.